Welcome back to Six Ashes for episode 4 with me, MrSealyp. It's day 4. It's mid-spring. It's 7:28 in the morning, nearly 7:30. As you've already seen, yesterday was a sowing day. I'm trying to do the jobs that come up as we go through the season. I mean, you know, realistically, that's what I can do. Obviously, winter's going to be a little bit trickier because there's not going to be as much to do. But what we are doing now is I've taken on a fertilising job because some of the fields that I cultivated and some I've sown are now saying they need fertilising. But I'm going to do things a little bit differently. I'm not going to go down the route I have often gone down. That's not to say I won't at some point, but I'm going to try and use different machinery and different things to do those jobs. Now, as you can see, yesterday I sowed field 32, I sowed field 34, we did field 64 and we did field 59, were all sown by me yesterday. As far as today goes, I've taken on a job fertilising field 32, one of the ones we did. And there's one there fertilising for field 61, which was the field that we cultivated a couple of days ago. Now, the thing about it is, with seasons on, and playing the game generally, anyway, normally, is, I know I've said it so many times before, but you've got to remember it's a microcosm. It's a microcosm of the real world. Because it's a 6-day season, each day represents so many days in a month. At this point in the recording, a rant ensued, which went on far too long and should never have happened. So it was removed during editing and will never see the light of day. Apologies, because it's going to suddenly cut to the next bit and you'll probably wonder why I say with that being said. So, that being said, machinery. Now, I could fall down the obvious route here with fertilising, of going to fertilizer technology. I've got enough money, buy myself the Exacta TLX Geo spread and cracking on. It's 10 slots, it's not overly expensive, and I know I can cover big ground out to 45 metres. That is now my go-to. I've used these two, the Braydales K105 165, a lot in the early days of the game because they were the ones that were kind of in-game and worked really well. I might have used various different things. But there are a few bits of machinery that have popped up recently, and there is a supplier locally who can get... We can get Eastern European gear. Well, we can get gear from all over the world, let's be honest. In this day and age, you can import stuff from anywhere. But I'm a little bit torn on this because we've got this here, which will spread fertilizer and lime, which could be very, very handy. Only 7,350 to buy, 11,000 litre capacity. I think that's brilliant. Then there's the Virtuous 15,000. It's a little bit more expensive. Horsepower requirements on that one is only 125, which is no problem. Spreads at 24. Now that one will do fertilizer, lime, and manure, which you've got a 3-in-1 machine there, but the slot count's fairly high on that. It's 36. So then I thought, well, I want to do muck spreading because we've got muck available. We can go to the livestock market and I can get muck. So I found this. Well, this one I had installed for absolutely ages. The PRT16, 12,200, 34,400 litres of manure that will take. 180 horsepower though, so the horsepower requirement could be a bit iffy. But there's the baby brother to that, the PRT10. 18,300, which isn't too bad. 9 metre spread, 18 slots, 130 horsepower requirement. But the trade-off here is that will only do manure, whereas the other ones will fertilizer, lime, and manure. You know, it's a bit of a... But it's interesting though, that is the same price pretty much as what I paid for my front loader. So I did think, for 424, what I'm going to do is lease it. Just to start off with, I'm going to try it out. Don't really know what do I want to go green to match my tractor, or should I go for a different colour? I kind of like that. That's pretty cool. We'll leave it yellow and yellow. Design colour, I think we'll go for the same. Do I want to go for the same? Maybe not. I'm going to go for black, make that say stand out. But capacity 18,300. Protective board, yeah, we'll have that on there. Protective cover, yeah, we'll leave that on. Don't want to get muck and stuff in the chains. We'll set up standard, or standard. We'll leave it standard. So let's lease that. And I'm going to do muck spreading. I don't do it very often. I like doing muck spreading, I like doing lime spreading, and again, more down the route of being a little bit more realistic. Oh, that reminds me. When I was doing some of the sowing contracts, when I came back a few times, a couple of them I had to refill because I was getting close to being empty. So when I finished, I had a load left over in. Now I could have left that in and been reimbursed for it, but again, down the route of not people wanting to think I'm cheating by, you know. Anyway, so what I did was unloaded it. So what I might do is, if I do any sowing contracts and I've got a fair bit of seed left, I'm going to unload it, which now then gives me seed sat here. So if I do any more sowing contracts, I can pick it up from what I've unloaded from previous vehicles. I could just leave it in and be reimbursed for it, but I'll just do it that way. Yeah, so in that kind of vein of, again, you know, Pemberton's is one I've been watching a lot of recently, and like I say, George Saunders and people like that. It's a little bit harder with some of the American ones because they do have slightly bigger machinery on some of the ones I watch and that kind of thing, but is that going backwards and forwards to a field? That's the reality. You know, in a lot of the UK, that's the reality. You know, you're going to go backwards and forwards to your farm. You might have 1 or 2 machines running, and you'll be bouncing backwards and forwards. You'll go and collect manure, you'll do a bit of the field, you know, whether it's from your own yard or wherever you're getting it from. And the same with slurry. People will go backwards and forwards from their slurry tank out to their fields, and you might go backwards and forwards all day long. The whole kind of premise of I need to get the biggest one I possibly can as quickly as I can so I can stay out in the field all day without ever having to come back and resupply, that is kind of more unrealistic, I think. But like I say, I know people don't want to see me driving backwards and forwards all day long, and that's fine as well. I understand that. Doesn't mean I don't want to do it. So what we're going to do is come to the livestock market where they have a surplus of manure. Now, the buying of manure to use on your fields, farmers that have livestock and have the manure and have the slurry and the slurry tanks and stuff like that don't need to buy it. But there are a lot of arable farmers out there who don't have livestock who will be in the market for it and will look to buy it. Like I said before, there are plenty of farms and farmers who buy in all their bales. They don't make their own bales. That's not everyone, and it might not be how it's done where you are, but that, you know, it does happen, you know. That's the thing about it, it does happen. So we're off to field 32 first. I think we can go the back way here. Beacon on. I think some of the issues I'm having of late could be because this is, I tried to do something a bit different that I haven't done for a while on this, and that kind of slowing things down a bit. And maybe like in this episode I may only do muck spreading, but that's because we're on seasons, and that's because there's seasonal work and I'm on ×5, and let's be honest, I'm probably only going to get a couple of fields done today, especially if I've got to drive backwards and forwards to buy manure. Now, could I do this a different way? And this is the same with every single job you do. Any job you do, on any of the farms, on any of the maps, in any of the areas, there are multiple ways of doing pretty much every job. This is the way I've chosen to do it this particular time. I could have got myself a fertilizer spreader, and I know full well that Annmarie up the road, I can buy really cheap products. Now, I haven't bought fertilizer there, and I am going to try it at some point. I'll probably lease a fertilizer spreader and we'll give it a go, because it probably will work out way cheaper than doing it this way. But this is the way I've chosen to do it, so it's, you know, I just think this for me at the moment where I am financially as well. And thank you to everyone that suggested cultivators and all different bits of equipment. The thing you've got to bear in mind, and I need to bear in mind as well, is 1, horsepower of the tractor, 2, the terrain, 3, my finances. It's all well and good if you suggest a £90,000 cultivator. I don't have £90,000. I had to borrow money from the bank to buy my first bits of machinery, which I didn't really want to do, but I just didn't have a choice. I honestly... starting from scratch, the way I've done it is absolutely that. It's starting from scratch. I had nothing. It's just I honestly had nothing. I had to get some money from somewhere, and that meant doing something. I could do a whole series of me just sitting at the farmhouse waiting for a lottery win, but I don't think that'll go down too well. So I'm trying to make money, that's the point. Now, do I need to open this, or is this just a turn on and go? It's just a turn on and go, right. So I need to get over a little bit, because that didn't come out as far as I thought it was going to. Beacon off. Now we're going to run out of this really quickly. There's no two ways about it. I could have probably got away maybe with the larger one, but 180 horsepower requirement and the tractor's got 195. On some of the steeper hills that might have been a bit of an issue. So are we going to have to go backwards and forwards to the livestock market to buy manure? Absolutely we are. I'll be honest, having watched, as I keep saying, actual farmers, actual YouTube farmers, I do think the flow rates on a lot of these are a little bit high. The slurry rates especially, but the manure rates too. I know it depends. Some don't seem to have as high a flow rate as others. But the speed this stuff disappears is terrifying when you look how much I've done. I'm going to be going backwards and forwards a lot, but it's all good. Now this is only leased, so what I could do is, when I've done this field, potentially go and lease something else. And this is a kind of try before you buy situation, is that I'm looking around at, because I have fallen into the, not trap, because it's this, the whole premise as well. I think a lot of people ask, how do you choose, how do you find the mods and machinery and equipment you use? It's trial and error. It's playing the game for a long time. When new stuff comes out, having a go with it, and like I said, it's weighing up price, slot count, horsepower requirement, options, spread widths, cost of the product you're using to put in it. Once you find something that you're happy with, that works really well, that fits with what you want to do, you generally kind of fall back on that sort of thing all the time. And that's a blessing and a curse. It's a good thing because you found something that you're happy with and you like using. The only downside to that is you then often find that becomes your default. And especially like I'm doing, if you're making videos and recording it, I know I wouldn't want to watch the same thing being used all the time. It will get frustrating, of course it will. Am I going to get a full circuit round? I might do. It's going to be quite a few loads. So the thing I'm looking at now is, and I didn't because I was too busy talking, when I do the next load, I know everyone will comment and say how much the first load was, and when I come to edit this I'll be able to check, but at the moment I forgot to, is to do this whole field buying manure. Will it cost me more than it would have done to buy fertilizer? Potentially. And that's why also buying it as opposed to having it. If you've already got an arable farm and you've got animals and livestock and your manure is being produced technically for free, I know you're having to raise your animals and feed them and that kind of thing, but as a kind of byproduct of owning cows or pigs, then doing muck spreading is a cracking way of doing it. You do need a lot though. That is the other only downside to doing muck spreading. I'm going to get a bit, and maybe not 2 rounds, but we might get a bit of a third maybe. And I think it's another reason why I'm personally enjoying this. I'm enjoying it a lot because it kind of regrounds you. It puts you back. You know, even when I did Greenwich Valley, you know, I love doing Greenwich Valley and being at Greenwich Valley, and I liked this kind of storyline and the equipment. But even that, because of the storyline, and what I'm surprised about is that storyline. When I started it, there was already loads of machinery and equipment already out there because I had the three farms and I was coming in to help get them out of debt. No one batted an eyelid at that. No one went, "Oh, you're cheating." No, it was great. No, I had no problems at all. Yeah, I start this one and do this a different way, and people are like, Oh well, you know, it's not how you should be doing it. I don't understand. Actually, that's 1.5. Off to get more manure. There was probably a point I was making there before I started rambling, but now again, this sort of muck spreader, you will find this kind of muck spreader in the UK, yes, obviously not an Eastern European one specifically, but yeah, there are plenty of these types of muck spreaders about, and there are loads to choose from if you go to your local store. Great, try to go a little bit too tight and hit the fence post, which is hiding in the bushes. Am I at some point going to get another tractor, a bigger machine? Yeah, absolutely. We're only on episode 4. You know, this is starting out stuff, you know. So, I'll see you in a minute when I'm on my way back with some more manure. Right, so having collected the second load, it was 597 I just paid, 597 for 18,300 litres of manure. Now that seems a little bit pricey to me. So now my mind's ticking over, because I'm thinking I just did a round and a half of the field. To finish that field at 500, I'm already now over $1,000 into my actual fertilizer. So of the contract that I'm doing, which pays out about 8,000 and something, oh, that's the total one. Potentially, if I keep buying manure, I'm not going to get anywhere near. Now that's the thing with fertilising. Fertilising contracts, because yes, you're fertilising for someone else, and obviously having your own machinery with any of these jobs means you're getting all of the contract money. Any of those contracts that require a product to be used, cultivating is fine, ploughing is fine. Once you own the cultivator, once you own the plough, it's yours. But things like fertilising, sowing, because there's seed involved, because there's fertilizer involved, there's a product, and you want to get that product, whatever product it is, as cheaply as you possibly can, because you want to buy the product as cheaply as you can and make the maximum profit you can from the job you're doing. I mean, that's common sense, and again, too busy talking. Basic economics. There is absolutely something to be said for doing it correctly, doing it how it would be done, and that kind of thing. But even that being said, I still want to do it as cheaply as I possibly can. I don't want to be spending a fortune. So what I might be doing now is then thinking, okay, I need to find another source of manure if I want to carry on muck spreading. A cheaper source of manure, maybe, or look at an alternative fertilising product, a way of doing it. Like I say, I'm already $1,000 in, and I'm pretty sure, because of how cheap the stuff is at Annmarie's silo, it would be cheaper doing solid fertiliser and spreading. Pretty sure it would be. I had a little chat via message with Annmarie yesterday, where she messaged and said she wasn't cheap. I'm so sorry, Annmarie. She was only joking when she said it was one of those kind of, you know what I meant to say, and it didn't quite come out how it should have done. Where did I get to? Is it about you? Oh, I'll just start here. I could have just started down the other end, couldn't I? But yeah, it was one of those kind of, oh no, what had just happened? Right, so let's turn it on. Can't see it behind me. Woo! I'm just trying to gauge it on the last width. Probably about there. Let's try it a couple of seconds. That's about right. Oh, I wasn't on the right bit, was I? Hadn't gone far enough around the field. It's here. Yeah, so that's kind of, you know, how I'm gauging it. Unlike playing the game normally, how I have been on Stone Valley, for example, where if you're not running seasons, because everything becomes a kind of rinse-repeat cycle, because you're going through the sowing and growing cycles much quicker, with seasons on, you get a season, you know, a growing season. That's how it works. The rinse repeat cycle of contracts will continue, but the rinse repeat of fertilising jobs won't, you know, because there are only so many fertilising jobs you can do per year. There will only be a certain amount of sowing jobs you can do per year, and you'll roll round into the next type of jobs after that. So whilst there is a bit of a, you know, I'm going to hammer the contracts, of course I'm going to hammer the contracts, I need to make money. I won't just be doing fertilising jobs all the time. I can't, you know, interspersed every now and again with a harvest job. I can't, because there won't be that many harvesting jobs, and because I'm on ×5 as well, I can only get so many jobs done in a day. Again, starting off with small machinery, it's taken me much longer to do a field. If I had a massive bit of machinery, which one, I can't get through the lanes, but two, would speed up the process, I could get more jobs done in a day. How farmers become more profitable. Invest in new equipment, bigger equipment, faster equipment. The more you get done in the day, the more money you can make. I mean, that's just how it works. So yeah, it's a dilemma, you know. I enjoyed doing this, but this is not going to be the most profitable way of going about it. And now I'm thinking, do I... Now again, I know people seem to be very anti me buying products at the store and that kind of thing. It's there, you know, it's available. So maybe pallets of manure. I know there are pallets available. I've just got to look at what suppliers are available and how cheap they are. Because if it's cheaper to buy it in bulk in pallets than it is to getting it from the livestock market, that might be the way to go. I'm just having to check again. I'm off a little bit, only fractionally. So now I really am considering, what do I do? Do I just finish this one off and take a hit on this one, just for the, you know, just for the fact that I do want to finish this field doing muck spreading? So what I might do is finish this one off. You can see where I started off, and I had a bit of a wobble. Take a hit on this one. I mean, it's not going to be a massive hit. I might spend a couple of grand maybe. I'm just thinking how much I'm spreading. I might make a couple of grand, take a couple of grand hit on this one. I'm just thinking 4 loads might be enough to get me round. Maybe not. Oh, cruise control, come on. Might be enough. But if 4 loads is enough, I'm looking at a little over a couple of grand, which means I should still make about 6 grand on the contract, which again is not to be sniffed at, but the more you can make, the better it is. Just looking over that side of the field, see how far in we are. And obviously, the further into the field we go, the shorter the distances are, so we're going to get further round the field with each load. Okay, I think what we'll do now is I do want to get another fertilising type done in this episode. So what I'm going to do is skip to the good bit, jump to the end, bit of Rizzle kicks there for you. And what we'll do is finish this one off, see what we do end up, and try and work out our costs and what we make, and then we'll look at an alternative fertilising source. I might also, like I said, look at a different manure option. If I do and it works out cheaper, we will look at it and we will discuss it. Again, if anything, this is also to kind of help out anyone that's kind of new to the game and doesn't necessarily know about these things, about the options available, about, you know, people tend to just fall, like I have done in the past, fall into a trap of, like, I use this bit of machinery all the time. Oh, don't start raining again, we just finished off with rain. You've got to be kidding me. Oh, by the way, we are in a new weather pattern. We have a new weather pattern, a new weather front moving in, the 6 Ashes weather pattern. Wink, wink. We are no longer under the Shropshire weather pattern. We are under the 6 Ashes weather pattern. And it doesn't seem to be much better if we're going to get a load of rain again. Anyway, I'm in the online store just doing a bit of perusing. Now there are other manufacturers available, but I don't seem to have access to them at the moment. But if I go along to this one here, cow manure pallet, initially look and think, oh, actually that's pretty good. Which, don't get me wrong, it is. If we go to standard pallet to bulk pallet manure, that's 4,200 litres for 200. Again, that's not too bad. Double that up, 8,400. That's £400. And my thing holds 18,300. So I doubled that again. Yeah, we're up to 800, and so yeah, to fill up my muck spreader with manure on pallets, it's going to work out more expensive than buying it direct from the livestock market. Regardless how expensive it seems to be from the livestock market, it's going to be more expensive. Other suppliers may be available. It's 12:02. It's raining again. We have completed the contract. I don't know why I'm laughing. Excuse me. L1 and options button. Let's open up this menu. Right, let's check the weather. So 12 o'clock. It started raining about 11:30. According to this, by 3 o'clock it's going to stop. I hope it stops before that, and we should be clear rest of the day, all of tomorrow, Friday and Saturday. It's saying rain, but that could change as we move forward. So the rain will stop. Now, as far as the contract goes, I did 4 full loads of manure, which cost me 2,386. I can complete the contract because this machinery is mine, or I say it's mine, it's leased. So it's it wasn't 8,000, I was thinking the next one. 9,440. Take off the 2,386, we're looking at just over 7 grand? 7,000. Yeah, 7,000 and something, just over 7,000. So, not a bad day's work by any stretch of the imagination. I'm going to take on that fertilising contract, and we're going to switch fertilisers. So I'm going to accept contract, not borrow items. But look, there's a sowing job there for potatoes. Now, if you're the person that messaged me about potato planting on 6 ashes, about the way you had done it with regard to buying your potatoes, I don't want to give too much away. Hit me up in the comments, because I've been through them and I can't find your comment. I can't find your message. So if it was you, message again, let me know, because I'm going to use your method, I think, if it's still there when I've finished doing the fertilising. Also, before I forget, happy birthday to Sam. Happy birthday for the 20th. I'm sorry, I know it's the 22nd. I did my mod review yesterday. I didn't think it was kind of the place for wishing someone a happy birthday. Just get on with the mod review, but I didn't do a let's play yesterday and I was away Sunday. So apologies that it's belated, but happy birthday for the 20th, Sam. Right. Back to the store. Give this piece of machinery back, and we're going to go for... not sure. Right then, drop this off. We'll see what they've got available, shall we? I could have done this from my tablet, got someone to collect it, but it just makes more sense. Returned. Right, let's whiz in. Again, I can do it from my tablet, which seems to be running through the roof. That's unusual. Right, so I think I'm going to go with... I'm going to try it the MVU8, I think. That's a little bit too rich for my liking. I don't know. This will spread at 20 metres. That will do 24... maybe. Yeah, 11,000 litre capacity. 7,350. It's fairly cheap. It will do like... No, again, I'm going to lease it. I'm not going to buy it because I'm testing this out. Do I want to go red again? I don't want to go blue. Let's go blue with this one. Don't know why. Design colour changes the chassis. Ooh, no. Let's go with that. We'll set up standard. Oh, this was the... Oh, I remember now. I'm going to go with that one. because I think that it's not really realistic for the area, is it? Well, the whole thing isn't, I suppose. Yeah, gonna go with that. Just because I can. 436 to lease. I suppose there was the leasing cost of the previous one too to take into consideration, so it didn't make as much as we thought maybe. But again, that's not too much of a problem. Right, field 61 if I recall. Now what we have got to do, I'm going to go down to CNS farm, Annmarie's purchase point, because that's my cheapest option at the moment. And if I remember, I will put the name of the company in the description for her silos. Just think, 11,000 litres for this price. What was the other one I used a lot? It was the green one. Oh, who was the manufacturer? I want to say Brantner, but it wasn't Brantner, was it? It will come to me at some point. Right, making on. So filling this up with 11,000 litres, I'm thinking is going to be cheaper than 2,300 and whatever the last one was. We'll spend 2,386 simply because the product is cheaper to buy. And again, other suppliers are available and it will vary wildly. There is a fertilizer store actually up past field 32, past the post office. Is it Seven Valley Stores, I think it was? Haven't been up there to try. That could work out quite expensive. There are loads of pallet options available again, which could work out cheaper or more expensive, but this is the one at the moment. And again, if you were the person that mentioned this to me, and with both things I just spoke about, someone commenting and messaging me and letting me know, it was a little while ago. There's another one of those things that I thought, oh, that's quite cool. But I didn't think anything of it until it came to start farming in this area, and then when I used them, suddenly thought I didn't write down who the person was. So I apologised. If it was you, thank you for the heads up. So we'll see how much this costs for 11,000 litres. I can't see it being too much at all, which is going to be phenomenal. 880 for 11,000 litres. Now the question is, will that 11,000 litres do the entire field? If it does, in this particular situation, in this particular circumstance, then it's better for me to have this, and it actually isn't too wide. I was worried actually when I looked at it in the mod tub. Look at the weight, I spread the wheels and the axle. That would be too wide to get down the lanes, but actually it's not as wide as it looked in the picture. So this could actually be, this could end up being my preferred method. Now it is pouring with rain, and yes, I've got fertiliser in the back, and yes, it should be covered. This doesn't come with a cover, no. But what I will say as well, actually, yeah, so that's just unfortunately the way it is. The pig farm here is owned by Paula and Gordon. They spoke to, where am I going? Let's close round. Someone in the pub let me know, because it's quite narrow getting up here through the pub, they have said there is a lane that runs through their farm up to the other side of that brick wall, up the side of the woodland, and comes out at the other end, I think up by the sawmill. And they are more than happy for me to use that as a cut through if I've got something wide and can't get through the lane here past the pub. So thank you very much to Paula and Gordon, you know who you are. I have also heard a rumour they're thinking of selling up. That's nothing official though, that's just what I heard. You know what it's like? I heard it in a pub from a bloke. I overheard a conversation. So yeah, don't take that as gospel, but potentially they are thinking of selling up and moving. Yeah, so it'll bring me out around the back here somewhere. Anyway, field 61. I'm not quite sure what time the rain will stop. It should be sometime soon, I hope. Field 61 was the one where I hit the crumbler on the gates on the way in. But we no longer have the crumbler, so... Actually, can we get in? Oh, it's the next one up, isn't it? So I say, yeah, that's weird. That's the next one up. I recall there being a gate there. That's because there was. It's the next one. And again, like I said earlier, as far as fertilising jobs, there are only going to be a limited amount of them every season, so it's not like I can just hammer doing fertilising contracts. And it's another reason why I don't want to spend a fortune buying a fertiliser spreader. If I end up every season doing 4 or 5 fertilising jobs, once I've got my own fields and stuff like that, then that's a different ball game. But beacons off. Let's see how far up this spreads. Oh, that's not bad at all, is it? I am going to get around this easily and still have some left over. So as far as... that's interesting, because when I looked at this originally, you get that kind of lime powder on the wheels when you're liming. I'm surprised it's coming on with the fertilising, but regardless. Yeah, I mean, as far as this is going to cover a much bigger area, much more affordably. The price of the machine in the first place isn't that expensive, and the capacity is pretty good. So, spread width is okay. The frustrating thing is I really do like muck. I know it sounds ridiculous. I really do like muck spreading. Slurry spreading is okay. I don't mind doing it, but there's something about, I don't know what it is. Something about, I suppose, from being a kid. You know, when you're growing up and when you think of farming, and you don't necessarily, you probably don't know about fertilizers and that kind of stuff when you're a kid. And I just always remember as a kid farming and seeing farmers spreading muck on the, you know, and thinking as a kid, as you do, oh, it's poo, you know, that kind of thing. To me, that still sticks in my head as, you know, when you're putting stuff down on the ground, it's muck. You do muck spreading. I don't know. Oh, it's weird, isn't it, how your mind works? Yeah, this is going to be... I suppose the beauty of this being as well, like I did with the sowing, is what I'll do when I get to the end. If I've still got a load left, I'll just unload it. So when I come to the next one, I have got some spare. So it will go a lot further. So this kind of counteracts what I paid out for the manure, I suppose. It just goes to show it's... I mean, if I wanted to go even cheaper, although it wouldn't be cheaper from the outset, as I've done before in the past, there is the Joskin Scaraflex and there's the Agromesh BM75, which I use a lot. Now those are weeder, ground conditioner type pieces of machinery. They don't charge you anything. Once you turn them on and you drive across the ground, you get a fertilising state, but there's no product being used. A downside, I suppose, is each one of those, I think one is 50 something grand. I'm pretty sure the Scaraflex is 56 grand. And the Agromesh BM75 is about 25 grand. So in all honesty, within a few contracts, a few fertilising jobs, it's paid for itself. And you've just got then the upkeep of the piece of machinery. So if you want to go for an almost kind of free fertilising in a way, once you've done enough fertilising jobs to pay for the machine, it then becomes free. It's a free piece of kit. I don't know if I've got any of them available in the store. This is using way less than I thought it would. You know, you always think when you see something like this and it's cheap and the spread width isn't too bad, and then the amount you can put in is pretty good, you think the flow rate's going to be horrendous. It's going to really, you know. But so far, so good. And again, apologies for the rain. I know you would not normally be fertiliser spreading in the rain. You want it to go into the ground, you want it to be covered, you don't want it to be washed off straight away. Like I said before, I know there are certain things that are activated by rain, but that's after they've kind of hit the ground and been in the ground. I think I just missed a whole bit. And we'll still get there. And as you can tell as well, bearing in mind, you know, the time frame, as I said earlier, the bigger the machine, the more capacity, the less runs backwards and forwards, the quicker you can get a job done. This is far quicker than doing muck spreading. Larger spread width, larger capacity, well, the capacity is not large, but you know what I mean, product for product, and I'm not going to have to go backwards and forwards to the store to get more, which means I can stay in the field longer, I can get the job done quicker. Well, I think that just about says all that needs to be said, doesn't it? We did that entire field and used just over 1,000 litres of the 11,000 that we bought. I mean, with the best will in the world, and you know, if you are looking at when it gets to a point where, I know it sounds ridiculous, but like running on Stone Valley, when money is no object, when you get to a point where you've got millions in the bank, then muck spreading, if you've got to go and buy it yourself, or like I say, by that point hopefully you've got a dairy farm and you've got enough muck on hand that you can do it yourself, no problem at all, and the animals are producing it so quickly that you can keep up with what you need. But again, with seasons, that's a whole different ball game, because there's not that rinse repeat cycle. You know, with seasons on, your animals will only be productive at certain times of the year, will only produce milk, the cows, after the first 9 months. If you give them straw, you will get manure. If you don't give them straw, you'll get slurry, but you don't get both. So again, that's something you've got to weigh up and decide what you're going to do. This, for me, I think is going to be the best option at the moment. If we do have a look, I can complete that now, so 8367, that's mine. I can collect because the machinery is mine. I am going to accept that job. No, I'm not. I'm going to borrow equipment. I would be mad if I accept that job without equipment. That's going to take me a long time. That is a small potato planter, but for 44,000, even if I pay a big old chunk of money out for seed or potatoes, I'm still going to make a load of money on that. But it's going to be the time input on that job. That could be an entire day job, I think. I think it's going to be, isn't it? So let's borrow equipment on that. Now, the other thing to bear in mind as well, when you're running like we are at the moment, on ×5, if I stop to chat and if I stop to show you stuff, whether it be in, you know, on the ground or whether it be in the showroom, the store menu, whatever it is, that's eating into my day. That's eating into time. Oh no, I've just realised what I've done. It's only not quite 2 o'clock. I'll have to start on the potatoes. Not in this episode, but in this day. That's not a problem. Woo. Right, we'll take this back. We'll unload the fertilizer. We've got a lot of fertilizer left in this. We'll unload the fertilizer. Actually, what I might do is see you in a minute. And what I'll do is I'm going to head back to the farmhouse. We'll unload there. I know the neighbours are going to hate this. My front yard, I'm sounding very American. My front garden, I suppose it is technically a yard now, isn't it? But it's turned into a, well, it's like a scrap metal yard, but it's all good. As for someone messaged actually about, a few people have commented actually about finding entrances to some of the fields, especially some ones in the middle section off to my left here. There are various different routes in. A lot of times it's just kind of analysing the map fairly closely, and sometimes it's just trial and error. You might drive around the entire field until you find the gate, or you might drive around the field and not find a gate and find you've actually got to get to it through another field. But normally zooming in really close on the map is a good way of working it out. Not always, but sometimes. So we are unloaded. Lots of fertiliser on the ground. Mind my weight. But it does mean I've got fertiliser now sat here for the next job, Now, like I say, that's leased, but I think I'm going to buy one. Am I going to get it blue? Maybe not. I might go for a red. I don't know, I haven't decided. But as I was saying, just to kind of wrap it up to finish off, I don't think I've got it installed. No, I haven't, have I? That's typical. Yeah, there are a few fertilizer spreader options that are actually fairly reasonable and good spread widths. And like I say, these ones, there's nothing wrong with these 3-point link mounted ones. And that one there for 24,500. Yeah, why wouldn't you? Great spread width, goes all the way out to 45 metres, 3,900 litre capacity. Coupled with a front tank was an absolute winner for me on Stone Valley. These are absolutely fine. 14,000 litre capacity, lime and fertilizer, with the spreader bar as well, and that goes out to a nice distance. That one only does fertilizer, doesn't do lime as well, but it's an absolute cracker as well. 36 metre spread on it, so the options are out there. What was the one I was thinking of? Oh, it doesn't matter, mine's gone blank now. But anyway, rain hasn't quite stopped yet. I am going to need to look at starting that potato sowing job, but for this episode, I always say this is going to be a short one. They still end up being 50 minutes long, and I apologise. I am trying to get them a little bit shorter because I know there are going to be more of them in this series. So, fertilising options, there are a load out there. I haven't gone through all of them, of course, because there's slurrying and there's digestate and there's all the other things. But as far as me starting out, what are my fertiliser options? There are a few. What I'll do, if I can find it online, I'll show you the one that I was talking about. You'll know it instantly as soon as I show you. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you'll go, oh yeah, I remember seeing you use that. It was one I used quite a lot on previous maps. I think Oakfield Farm I might have used it for. Anyway, it's only got an 8,000 litre capacity. It will come to me at some point. It will suddenly hit me. Maybe it is Brantner, but for some reason I'm not thinking it is. Anyway, I'm waffling again. We're up to 78 grand, which is not bad. It's 2:15 in the afternoon, and we've got more work to do. I'm going to take this back. I'm going to look at probably buying one. The cover on it would be nicer, but again, I can't do a lot about that. It comes how it comes. I can always stretch a tarp over it or something, couldn't I? But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the episode. If you have, give us a like. If you don't subscribe yet, please do. If you want to leave a comment, feel free. And if you want to share this video, then please be my guest. Whatever you should choose to do. Thanks for watching.